we need to bring in a few mentors in to talk with you guys and help with your journey on building your product. So do know that we are very committed in your competition, the global e-commerce talent competition, and with our commitment, it is not just on you winning the competition. Our commitment is also on you guys launching your idea. So we don't want just you to do what you do for the sake of the competition. We saw that you guys are solving real problems, real painful problems that have been facing by the society, and we believe that if you guys were to launch your product, it will be an interesting opportunity for people to actually use, and you guys will be actually solving people's problem. So if you have any questions in between, please put it inside the chat box. We will start in about 2 minutes, and then as usual, when I started, when I start my lecture, it will be 40 minutes straight, so that it can be recorded and uploaded and be shared to your friends who can't be here today. Thank you, Why Incredibles. I mean, you guys are the one who always like send out the assignments early. Very excited to read your documents. So do know that we are reading one by one, and we are trying to formulate like the best comment to give to you guys. And please, if you have any question, you can just straight away interact within the Google Classroom, and we hope to serve you better. So do please tell us how we can serve you better, because we really hope that we can serve you better. So now in the meantime, we have another 1 minute. In the meantime, I hope that you guys are being super excited, super ready for today. Anik is at the back approving your friends if they were to come in right now. Now we have 116 people. It's an increase from day one. So congratulations to everyone. Day one, it was just about 60 plus. Yesterday, we hit up to 80 plus. Now, today, we have 160. Maybe it's because the surprise that Nicole gave to you guys yesterday. Honestly, I don't know how it works. I think Nicole will brief you guys on that. And do know that right now, Nicole is reading one by one, like I mean, checking out one by one, like who came for today's session. So it's 10 a.m. I'm gonna start my presentation. It's gonna be 40 minutes, just like yesterday. If you have any question, I will answer it after my session. So, okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum, good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here again to our third day of Alibaba GET online training. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate everyone for completing your assignment yesterday. Some of you guys are also uploaded the assignment this morning. Congratulations. As we speak right now, my team is actually reading your assignment, giving out marks, and trying to formulate the best comment to give to you guys, because we believe that every feedback counts. So for today, we will continue with our session. Just as a recap, on the first day, we have discussed on how do we refine your idea, how do we actually frame your idea into a problem statement, and we also discussed on who is your customer, who is your user, and how do you find your potential user. So yesterday, based on your assignment, you've mapped out your competition. Congratulations to everyone who actually put the logo of your competitors on the document. Congratulations. And then most of you guys have identified more than one competitor, meaning that you've identified more than one key strength that makes people use your competitor's product. And you have also identified more than one key weakness where you can overcome and build a better product as compared to your competitor. So as of today, I believe that you guys have formulated a proper problem statement. You guys have choose a proper target market. You guys have created your own persona. And today is the most important part. I wouldn't say it is as important as the day after, but it is still as equally as important as yesterday, which is the real golden question: how do you start? So before we actually discuss on how do you start, let's discuss on how did they start. So there is the companies, the successful companies that exist today. So I love to take one of the first dropout success story, which is the Facebook.com, launched in 2004 as the Facebook.com, and then after he met Sean Parker, the co-founder of Napster. I mean, this is based on the movie. He told him that, you know, drop, if one of the biggest advice he received from Sean Parker was drop the word the. So it became Facebook.com in 2005. So how did Facebook evolve from 2004 to 2015 and now 2020? Every year, what they did is they introduce new features, they introduce new functions for their user. So as you can see on the slides, in 2006 they introduced the newsfeed. So if you look at what we have now, the Facebook, the Facebook that we have now, it is a full suite product. So if you were to build a social media, the benchmark would be Facebook, meaning that you need to have a chat function, you need to have a video upload function, you need to have a photo upload function, you need to be able to update your status. But all of that function did not exist back then in 2004. As we have discussed yesterday, in 2004, Facebook was just a simple page for you to showcase your biodata. You know, you remember when you were in school, you take a small buku latihan, and then you write down your name, your hobby, your ambition, your address. So Facebook was that in 2004, and it was just for Harvard student. And then as it grows, it caters to Ivy League student, and it added in functions that is necessary for user to actually interact with each other. So in 2007, you know, they added in Facebook videos and Facebook page. In 2008, then they launched Facebook chat. In 2009, one of the simplest function, but it is one of the core function that Facebook have today, the birthday reminder. 2000 fan become a fan, and become a fan became like the like button that we all know today. 2011, Facebook timeline and Facebook Messenger, and 2015, Facebook Live. So now we are at 2020. Facebook has a full suite of products. They keep on launching new features every single year to serve their customer. Some of the features that they launch have received negative feedback from the user, and some of the features that they launch have received immense positive feedback from the user. Why I mentioned Facebook today? Actually, it was a different company, but we changed the slide this morning because this morning something interesting happened. Facebook launched another new product. I mean, last week, what happened? I mean, around this week, I think last Monday, what happened was Facebook announced that they will acquire the company called Giphy, Giphy, for 400 million. Giphy is the company that is the authority for GIF. You know, if you go to if you use Facebook or if you use Instagram, you go to Facebook Stories or Instagram Stories. You want to add a GIF on your Facebook or Instagram Stories. You need to use Giphy keyboard. So Facebook is acquiring that company for 400 million. And as of today, what happened was Facebook is trying to compete and collaborate with e-commerce platform, and they've launched Facebook Shops. So now you don't need an e-commerce platform to actually launch your product. You can actually just simply use Facebook Shop. So I saw a lot of people who are building an online shoe shop. Some of them are actually selling organic soaps to housewife, organic cleaning products to housewife. So now you can reduce your workload from building a website to actually just using Facebook Shop. But what I want you guys to actually focus on is not what they launch. what I want you guys to actually focus on was Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook post. So it is just like posted like now 8 hours ago. I screenshot this like an hour ago. It was written like 7 hours ago. Now it's 8 hours ago. What Mark Zuckerberg said on the first paragraph is, I just announced that we're launching Facebook Shops today. So after we've discussed, I mean, we have this discussion like for the past 2 days that a great idea came from a problem that is being solved. And a great idea is when you actually clearly identify a group of customer segment you want to interact with. So that is what Facebook just did. You know, what Facebook is doing today, or what they have launched today, is it is just a basic idea that any small business can start a shop. So the problem statement is during MCO, during COVID-19, a lot of small business get stuck because they don't know how to digitalize their business. So what Facebook did as an initiative is Facebook enables all these small business to actually do transaction on their platform. So most small business, especially in Malaysia, have a Facebook page, and some small business actually do business daily on their Facebook page, and some of them even survive on just their Facebook page today. So adding a shop feature on the Facebook page is actually a big help, especially for small Malaysian sellers, because they are actually enabling online payment. They are actually enabling things that before this it takes I mean a lot of money to do, like building an online shop, promoting your product in the digital world, and then like processing payment. So right now everything can be done all under one platform. So if you look at paragraph 3, what Mark Zuckerberg described is Facebook shops are free, easy, and easy to create. So it is the value proposition of Facebook shop: free and it is easy. And the final part is the secret sauce, is the product evolution. So on top of that, we're building a bunch of features across our apps to help people discover things for small business that might want to buy, meaning that they are handling not just transaction, they are not just helping small business to actually promote their product online. What they are doing is enabling them to be discovered online. So it all started with just a page that only showcase your profile, and adding more features every year, and up until now Facebook has become its own economy. So the question of how do you start can be answered if you actually clearly identify what you want to do step by step. So we go back again, how do you start? You need to actually identify where is the starting point. So imagine if your app is the version 1 of your product. What you need to do is actually track what is version 0.1, what is version 0.2, what is version 0.3, etc. up until version 1. The reason why you actually break down your app into smaller chunks of version is for you to create manageable goals. Why you create manageable goals is for you to manage the risk associated in launching your business. Remember, launching a business and launching a product is two different things. I do understand that right now you guys are excited in planning to launch your product, but in this situation, or in this case, we do not want you just to launch your product. We want you to actually launch your business. So if you were to launch your business, you need to understand what is the true definition of a business. So a business is an organization, is a profit-making organization that derives from delivering value. So value is delivered using your product, using your app, using your service. The value is the problem that you are trying to solve. The person who is receiving the value is actually your customer. And how do they receive your value? It doesn't necessarily comes from your final version, which is your version 1. It can come from your version 0.1. It can come from your version 0.2. It can come from your version 0.3. And then you might ask, like, Hanif, how do I reach out to my customer? How do I explain to them, like, buy my product, use my product, although it is not a complete product? So that is the discussion that we will have today. That is the things that we will share to you today. How do you actually launch your 0.1 and get customers to use your 0.1 and at the same time get feedback and become a real business? So first and foremost, you need to figure out what do you need for your version 1. So for every version, you need to figure out three things: the what, the who, and the how. So the what is, what are you selling? You know, every version of your product have different forms. As we look at Facebook, you know, maybe version 1 of Facebook is the full-fledged website with chat box, you know, with like buttons, with timeline, with newsfeed. But 0.1, if you go back, if I can pull you guys back to our slide number 2 explaining on Facebook, if you guys can see, the version 0.1 is, it is launched as the Facebook. It is just that simple profile picture, and then it evolves every year. You know, it took them about 5 years to evolve from a normal Facebook page, I mean a normal profile page, to actually to a full-fledged product, to having a birthday reminder. You know, it took them about 5 years to be from a normal profile page to having a birthday reminder. So what you need to do is you need to break down your product into smaller chunks of version. So your version 0.1 is the most basic version of your product. It is the version of your product that can solve the problem as it is. It is a product with a single function. You know, if you're for example, if you're building a recipe app and you see, you're telling me that your function is videos, video tutorial, and then word tutorial, and then you can add in the amount of ingredient, and then they will give you suggestion on what is the recipe that you should cook today. Your version 0.1 should just be the video. You know, it should just be a simple YouTube video where you can collect your customer, interact with your customer. So every version of the product, every what of your product needs to have a who, meaning that your product needs to interact with your customer segment, needs to interact with your user. So this is very, very important because you need to start talking to your user from before version 1, from before you launch the first version of your app. And finally is how. How will they get the what? How will who get the what? Meaning that if your what is an app, your who is the people who is using the app, how will the person who is using your app obtain your app? Maybe not just downloading through the app store. How do they get to know your app? So these three questions have been answered during the first and second day, during your design thinking, and your second day, which is when you do your impact textbook, when you do your competitors analysis, when you do your channel, and you've actually figured out your what, your who, and your how. Maybe what is, the what that you figure out is your version 1. So what you need to do today is to break your version 1 into smaller chunks of version so that it can be a manageable goal and achievable goal. So I'll give you a very simple example. For example, if you are selling nasi lemak. So the version 1 of you selling nasi lemak is you selling a nasi lemak tepi jalan at the side of the road. And like if we use the technique that we've discussed just now, the what, the who, and the how, what are you selling is actually the nasi lemak. Who will buy it is, maybe you target working class public commuter, and how will you sell it is at a location near an LRT, because you are targeting working class public commuter. So imagine the best version of your nasi lemak stall is a nasi lemak stall at an LRT station, one table with nasi lemak and then ayam goreng and then your udang and your soto, and then people can come in, ask for nasi lemak, and they can add on like some extra lauk for their breakfast. So that is the version 1 of your product. So maybe your version 0.1 of your product is just you selling nasi lemak bungkus that you source from some makcik in Dengkil, and you actually buy in bulk every day and you resell it at a specific location, maybe a location near an LRT. So business is an act of you figuring out how do you get the what, how do you get the who, and how do you get the how. Meaning that your maybe your version 1 is you figuring out how do you get the best nasi lemak, meaning that you need to source the best recipe, get the best makcik to cook your nasi lemak, source the best ingredient for your nasi lemak. It will be a full-fledged SOP or standard operating procedure. Who will buy your nasi lemak is you target a very specific amount of people, a very specific group of people who are going somewhere. And then how will you say it is you actually plan your customer's location. I mean, you plan the place that you will sell. You carefully position your product at a location where you can meet your who at the mass level. So your 0.1 should be you figuring out getting the what, getting the who, and getting the how at version 0.1, the more simplified version. So instead of having nasi lemak ayam for your version 1, your version 0.1 is just that nasi lemak, the simple nasi lemak being wrapped in the brown paper and being sold just RM1. You know, instead of who will buy it is just a normal working class public citizens, public commuters who can buy a RM5, RM6 nasi lemak. Maybe your 0.1 is just targeting a normal working class citizen who can pay for a RM1 nasi lemak. So instead of going to the busiest LRT station, maybe at KLCC, maybe you can choose a more quieter LRT station at Taman Maluri, for example. So 0.1 enables you to talk to your potential customer, not at the bigger setting, at a smaller setting. And then you can grow. Like maybe today you sell nasi lemak RM1, tomorrow you grow, you sell nasi lemak RM2. Maybe back you're on the first day, your nasi lemak has a small piece of sambal and then half of egg. And maybe on the second day, you sell that kind of nasi lemak plus with extra lauk. And maybe on day 5, you are selling a full-fledged nasi lemak like nasi lemak antarabangsa, where people can buy nasi lemak, you can manually put nasi lemak, they can adjust the amount of sambal that they get, and they can choose the lauk. So that is me comparing you starting a business to starting nasi lemak. So and then you'll tell me like, Hanef, starting a nasi lemak stall is very, very different from you if you were to start an app or a hardware business. So what if I tell you that it is actually somewhat very similar? So first, before we go into, we dive into you building your app, what you need to understand is what are you selling. When you are describing your what, you need to describe the characteristic, the function, or the description of the product. So if it's a nasi lemak, you need to specifically describe your final version, meaning that if it's a nasi lemak, it should be nasi lemak ayam with lauk and extra sambal. And who will buy it is your specific customer segment, specifically your customer persona or a replicate of your customer persona. How will you sell it is where will your product or where will you what you are selling be available to who will buy your product. So maybe it will be online, maybe it will be offline. If it is offline, specifically tell how will they discover your product. If it's online, don't just tell social media, tell specifically like the different kinds of social media exist, because different age group right now interact with different types of social media. So for example, I would like to take a real life case study. For example, there's this company in Malaysia called Get Runner. So their aim is building an automated runner service with tracking. So that is their version 1, an automated runner service with tracking. And then specifically, they are targeting people in Pantai Timur, in Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang, so that the east coast of the part of Malaysia. So and most of their target market is actually housewife, because you know they don't have any cars to go out and buy grocery. And then how will this housewife be able to obtain or to use the automated runner service is via a web application. So right now, if you go to www.getrunner.com, the page that you will go to is Get Runner version 2. So I roughly write down here where is version 1, but actually right now it is version 2. So the full version that they want to launch is an automated runner service with tracking. So the question is, how did they start? So what is their version 0.1, version 0.2? So a business, remember, if you are launching a business, you need to have something that you are selling. You need to know who you are selling it to, and you need to connect them. Meaning that you need to have a place that you are selling your product. So you need to have a place where the who can get the what. So it's very simple. It will happen on a daily basis. Business is that every time the who get the what, it means that you've closed a sale. So right now, before you figure the begin with the end of mind, meaning that figure out what is your version one in terms of what, who, and how. So if you were to build, if you want to launch an app, so how would it look like? So the tip is you need to start slow, step by step. So if your version one is an automated version of what you want to build, meaning to say that your version 0.1 is a manual version of what you want to build. So if you shift your mindset in that sense, meaning to say that what you can do, your version 0.1, version 0.2 is actually a step-by-step process of you growing from your manual version to your automated version. And then the risk that associated with building your product, with launching your product, is actually a series of tests or a series of experiment of you connecting the who and the what you are selling. So that is actually how do you start. Figure out the first version of your product, and if it's automated, work backwards, meaning that how do it become less automated? So 0.9 means it is less automated than version 1. 0.8 is less automated than 0.9, etc., etc., up until 0.1, the most manual version of your product. So what GetRunner did, what this Runner app did was, their version 0.1 is just not an automated runner service, it is a manual runner service. And who will buy it? Instead of a big customer segment, what they did was they cut it down to a smaller chunk of customer segment. Instead of targeting the whole East Coast, they just target housewife in Terengganu. And how will they sell it? They still need a technology to sell. So they did not build a website for it. What they did during the first version of their product is they actually market WhatsApp number. So if you were to build a grocery app, and if you were to begin at the end of mine, so I mean, for example, you are building an automated self-checkout grocery app. That is the version 1 of your product. So your version 0.1 is a manual self-checkout grocery app. Now, how do you build a manual self-checkout grocery app? So it is not about piecing together. I mean, it's not about building a full-fledged solution. It means that you need to invest money, you need to invest time, you need to invest effort. It is about piecing together smaller and available online solution and make it into your solution. Like for example, version 1 requires you to have an automated runner app. So if you were to describe an automated runner app, meaning that with tracking system, meaning that number 1, you can track your runner. Number 2, you can communicate with your runner. And number 3, you can constantly check up on your runner. So this 3 version is a function or the description of your app. So these are the features that will be available on your app. So what they did was, for version 0.1, instead of building it, what they do is they actually use available technology that has these 3 functions. An in-app chat function, a location sharing function, and at the same time, maybe they use WhatsApp because you can check out the picture of the owner, the runner who sell, and then they can actually check out, verify every time the item has been sent via picture. So that is the 0.1 version. And the 0.1, the value that they want to deliver is just the runner service. So now you know that business is actually about delivering value to your potential user, to your potential customer, using your what, using the what you are selling, using your product, using your service. So if you are building, for example, one of the most interesting app is the recipe suggestion app. If your version 1 is an automated app where it enables you not just to check out recipes, but to buy the ingredients for the recipe, maybe your 0.1 only revolves around solving problems, only revolves around suggesting specific recipes for them to cook. Maybe it is on WhatsApp where anyone can, I mean, you market the phone number, like normal people like me and your friends can just go to the WhatsApp number, message the person behind the number, like the list of ingredients that I have and what you are doing at the back of the number, suggesting what kind of recipes that they can cook. Or your 0.1 can be a simple recipe portal, or a simple recipe videos that you posted on your YouTube channel, for example. So figure out your 0.1 and always contact or always keep in touch with the who of your product, with the person who will buy your product. Because if you continue interacting with the person who will potentially buy your product, ultimately when you really launch your full-fledged version, the version 1 of your product, they will become a loyal customer. So along your way, you've educated them to become your loyal customer. So pulling back yesterday, your impact textbook. So actually the how, you figure out the how, the what, and the who. So the who was, I mean, you figure out the who in your customer persona page. You figure out the how in your channel and customer relationship page. Box number 2, which is how do they get to know your about your product, and you figure out the what to build or what to manage in your value proposition page, meaning that you need to build something that is better than your competitor. That is why we ask you to list down similar venture, you list down the weakness of that similar venture, the strength of that similar venture, and how can you improve upon that. So what you are offering to your customer is something better than the version that they have right now. And trust me on one thing, people will always try to find the solution. So there's this movie back then, I think you guys are familiar with the movie, The Wizard of Oz. So it's actually a story of a group of friends, Lion, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Dorothy, try to go to Emerald City using the yellow brick road. So if you look at that, they started off and the adventure start at the yellow brick road, and along the way they met a lot of interesting characters. So the reason why they wanted to go to Emerald City is because these 4 friends, they actually have individual problems. You know, the lion has some bravery problems, the Tin Man wanted to become human, and Dorothy has her own problem, and Scarecrow has his own problem. So at Emerald City, there lives a wizard who can solve everyone's problem. So that is why they make their way to Emerald City using the yellow brick road. And on their adventure at the yellow brick road, they faces a lot of turmoils and meet a lot of characters along the way. So when they actually meet the wizard, which is called Oz, the Great Wizard Oz, they actually the wizard, the role of the wizard at Emerald City is like genie, you know. The wizard will fulfill the wish. So what happened is the wizard is actually not a wizard. It is actually a genius old man sitting behind a curtain and try to comfort the problems of the people within Emerald City on a case-by-case basis. Meaning that the people of Emerald City has their problem being solved by the wizard every day, and they thought that it was magic. So Dorothy, the Tin Man, Lion, and Scarecrow was under the impression that everything was automated, everything was magic. But in reality, it was just a man behind the curtain controlling the image of the wizard. So meaning to say that your customer will always try to find your product, because they will always have their problems to be solved. They will always want their problem to be solved. So it doesn't necessary for you to actually build a full-fledged automated product or build the final version of your app. You just need to build something for your customers, for your potential customers to interact with your app. So on what the wizard did was, the wizard have a contraption to actually create a presence of a wizard and solve the problem on a case-by-case basis. So that is why some of the solutions, I mean, some of the techniques that people use to actually launch ideas today, they call it the Wizard of Oz solution. So one of the first key things that you need to do when you finish out figuring out your why, your what, and your who, is for you to figure out what business are you in. Are you selling it to business? Are you selling it to consumers? Are you building a hardware? Are you building a software? Or are you proposing a service? So hardware meaning a product, a physical product. So every different nature of business have different way of you testing out their ideas. So for example, if you're building a B2B hardware, if you want to launch a physical hardware, what happen is first you need to do customer interview, meaning that you need to meet your user and talk to them and ask them what is the problem that they are facing. Next, what you need to do is you need to create a draft paper prototype of your physical hardware, and then you move on to do rapid prototyping, maybe via 3D printing or laser cut or and many more. And then with your physical product being 3D printed, although it is rough, what you need to do is you need to make sure it is functioning so that the users can use the product and you can get data sheets on the feedback on the feedback of your product. And then ultimately what you need to do is a mashup MVP, which is piece together smaller parts to build your hardware, meaning that from your 3D printing prototype plus any functioning items piece together to actually create your product. And what you need to do is create a letter of intent to your potential customer for them to buy your product and straight away crowdfund your product. So give you a simple example that companies that had been doing this, for example, Pebble smartwatch. So Pebble smartwatch, although it is a consumer business, what they do is the reason why you have the letter of intent before crowdfunding is because this is for B2B business. Meaning to say, when you meet your client or when you meet your client, when you showcase your solution, it is for the intention of a B2B transaction. Letter of intent meaning that this business wants to buy your hardware. So if you are building a B2B software, same thing. Go find your customer, do interviews, and go for discussion forums or Facebook groups, and then create a boomerang solution. Meaning that a boomerang is where you take an existing solution from your competitor and resell it and getting feedback from your customer with the aim or the intention of getting feedback from your customer. And then when you actually get the feedback, what you need to do is create a clickable prototype for your software. So I would recommend you to use apps like Marvel app. And then what you can do is you can do pre-sale, meaning that sell the solution before it is being built, just like Dropbox. And then build, because it is a software, what you need to build is build a single feature MVP or the product with only a single feature to solve the specific problem, just like Facebook in 2004. If you are doing a B2B service business, for example, if you're doing a photocopy service or a runner service for B2B, so what happened is, number one, what you need to do is you need to interview expert stakeholders, meaning that you need to interview the people who are facing the problem, and then you need to do customer support analysis, meaning that how do you interact with your customer. Create a brochure for your service, but pretty simple, right? Create a brochure for your service, find your target customer, pre-sell your service, and then when you close the deal, when they actually buy your service, what you need to do is concierge. Concierge is manually handle the service. So this is very important if you are building a B2B service business. So if you are building a B2C business, so again, there are ways for you to test out your business. If you're a hardware business, or you're a software business, or you're a service-based business, or B2B2C, if you're a marketplace business, or ultimately the highly regulated sectors, meaning that if you're dealing with government or if you are dealing with big clients. So it all requires you to, number one, interview your customer. Number two, get feedback from your customer. Number three, create promotional material. Number four, do a pre-sale or a mock sale. So pre-sale meaning that you sell before you finish building your product. Mock sale meaning you sell, you create the transaction, but you complete the transaction without receiving money. Meaning to say that you only would want to test out whether they want to buy from you or not. And ultimately, it will requires you to crowdfund your product, or for you to actually do concierge or build or launch a single feature MVP. So it is all doing small things. So we will share you this slide. This is actually an information that we got from the book Strategizer book, Testing Business Ideas. So we will share this slide, and we will also share a free copy version of the book for you to do your read up on. So your activity that you need to send out before 10 p.m. today is you need to complete out 3 documents. So this is the first document that you need to complete, the second document that you need to complete, and the third document that you need to complete within your impact textbook. Same thing, go to the link that we've shared, download the page and fill it in using Canva. If you don't know how to, Anik has prepared a special video for you. So the first one is the key resource and key partner sets of your BMC. So what you need to do is you need to figure out the activity that you guys are doing before, during, and after sales. So remember, you guys are not just building a product, you guys are building a business. Sales meaning that after sales meaning that people have received your product, people have received your app. Before sales is you meet them before they actually know your app. During sales is for you to convince them, the time taken for you to convince them from just knowing your app to using your app. So these are the activities that you need to do. So for example, you need to clearly identify 3 things. Number 1, the activities that you need to do before, during, and after sales. And then what do you need, which is the resources, the external resources that you need before, during, and after sales. And who do you need, the partners that you need before, during, and after sales. So with these 3 things, what you can actually figure out is your key activity, your key partner, and your key resource. So for example, if you were to sell nasi lemak, before sales, what you need to do is actually cook that nasi lemak. So what do you need? The recipe for your nasi lemak. Who do you need? Your mak or your makcik to actually cook the nasi lemak. So during sales, what you need, the activity is for you to actually promote your nasi lemak. What do you need? Maybe the equipment for you to promote your nasi lemak, the promotion, the marketing material. Who do you need? Maybe someone to actually help you out, edarkan the flyers. And finally, after sales is actually you are selling the nasi lemak and people are eating your nasi lemak. So the activity is for you to close the transaction, receive the payment. So what do you need? You need duit baki, you need petty cash and whatnot. And who do you need? Ultimately, you need your customer. Or if you want to target more customers, you need a company to actually buy your nasi lemak in bulk. So figure out these 3 things, you will figure out your key partners, key resource, and key activities for your BMC. You also need to figure out your cost structure. So this one, we are not very rigid or not very strict on this, but you know, this is a business. If you want to start something, you also want the return on investment for your business. So the only way for you to actually calculate your return on return on investment is for you to know the initial cost of setting up your business. So asset is something that you need. Asset is something that you need. Your product is actually the resources, the cost of building up your product. Prepayments are like your internet, your rent, and human resources are the people who you are actually paying to get your business done. So external capital, meaning of the external capital is how much investment do you think you need. So this is just a simple exercise. No need to focus too much on this. Focus on the first slide and the final slide, which is product improvement. So we have this section because we want you to actually have plans for your 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, etc. So you need to figure out what is the final version of what you sell for every version. So for example, if version 1 is an automated runner service, version 0.1 maybe is just a runner service. So you need to understand what are you selling. So of course you are building your product. Of course you are building, for example, a recipe app, but on the behind part or on in reality, you are actually selling something. You know, it's either you are selling the service, or you are selling tips, you are selling advice, or you are selling the videos. And you need to figure out how to make it premium, how to make people pay more for your product, and how can you redesign your own product, how to make customer happier. Meaning that yesterday we've discussed on what makes your customer happy. Now we discuss on how to make your customer happier using your product, and what other features can be added on your product. And you can also figure out different sets of customer segment on your product. These are the 3 slides that you need to do. Please complete the task by 10 p.m. And that is all from me for the today's topic, how to start your business. Remember, start step by step, launch features one by one. Before launching your version 1, launch version 0.1, and figure out those 3 things: the who, the what, and the how. So that is all from me. Thank you. I will stop presenting, and I would like to open questions to the floor. If there is no question, you guys can leave the meeting. So